it's very encouraging, I think, to see more prominent people speaking out.
Yes.
Even after watching other people being torn to pieces for doing so.
Yeah.
I know Margaret Atwood has bought in, which is good. But, I mean, across the world, we're finding more people saying, come on, this is not good for women. And the bottom line is, why would any man who had a choice employ a woman? Why would men running businesses want to have women in the workforce? Why would you dare mix a lot? You know, you'd have to segregate them because they're dangerous to the men in your workforce.
When I, like, because I went to my guy works at sort of an industrial firm, and it's a small firm. It's only like 40 employees or something like that. So they don't have to essentially have, they don't have any requirements, non-discrimination requirements on them. They're too small to be held to those standards, and that's because there are not enough other employees to subsidize women when they go on maternity leave and things like that. But I'm attending this Christmas party, and these guys are like, they are hardcore, like foul-mouthed, dirty, you know, and just body and banter. And I'm standing in an office. I like all their girlfriends and wives were there, right? So I'm supposed to be over with the women, and instead I'm standing in this office, and we're saying the most outrageous things to each other, and
you're laughing
at like, because it was that is where I'm comfortable, is in that atmosphere. And that atmosphere is apparently, I mean, they used to be a little bit put off when I would kind of go in there and start joking around, because they're like, am I allowed to actually talk this way in front of a woman?
Kind of hurt.
Yeah. But, you know, like, over time they've gotten used to me, and they know how to take me now, and they know I'm not going to be offended by anything that comes out of their mouths. I mean, and some of the things that they do, I was giving one of my guy's coworkers shit because he sends him things, gifs and memes and photos and little videos and stuff on over the phone that are absolutely, you know, some of them it's like, and then my guy will show me, Chris just sent me this, right? And I'm like, oh God, why would you show me that? I can't unsee that. I can never unsee that. Now that's what that image is going to be in my head on my deathbed, right? As I breathe my last breath, right? I'm going to be seeing a trans woman with a gigantic penis and really nice boobs brushing her teeth with her thing wagging back and forth, right? And that's all I'm going to see, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, so, I mean, but it's like they do this stuff all the time, and it's like, I'm comfortable with that. I'm happy with that. Like, I love that kind of thing. But
that's the point. There are women who love that kind of thing. And we are not allowed to exist. We're not allowed to be acknowledged in any shape or form. And where these damaged, neurotic, psychologically fragile, sexually repressed women are ruling and determining how our workplaces should be conducted.
Yeah.
And the fun many women had of a bit of that sort of banter and stuff going on in the workplace is totally gone.
Oh, yeah.
And so we have to I just think we need a real uprising of sensible people saying enough.
Yeah. We
want banter. We want the sexual spark. We don't want to lose that when we're together in workplaces or in other situations.
Yeah,
and why on earth should we allow the feminists to just stomp on all of that?
Oh yeah, no, they're putting women in mental burkas, and they're putting men in sort of those cod pieces that lock onto the guy.
I don't do Facebook anymore because I used to put all this sexy stuff on Facebook, really funny sexual jokes and pretty explicit bits and pieces. And they constantly took it down and then banned me. So that's it. I mean, but the fact that the big organisations are conspiring in, pushing this feminist narrative is just appalling.
Well, I think,
and it's an anti-sex, anti-male narrative. That's what it is.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, what frustrates me the most is, as a men's rights advocate, when I speak up, I'm accused of, contributing to a gender war, and it's like these women declared war on men 170 years ago, during the Seneca Falls conference, right? That was their opening volley in this war, and they have waged this war for 170 years, and now finally men are like picking up their rifles, and you're gonna say, "Oh, how dare you attack women? How dare you, turn this into a gender war?" Like, no, that's when you have one group of people constantly attacking another group of people. When that other group of people finally gets tired of being kicked and beaten and shot and all of that, and then they defend themselves, they're not the ones who are the aggressors. Yep. And
the women who have watched this happen to men who say, enough of that. Yep. We're sick of men being attacked. We're sick of men being put down. We're sick of male sexuality being crushed and treated as something abhorrent and dangerous, pathological. Yeah. And we like sexy men in our lives, and we don't want them to be made extinct. And we have to stand up for the men too, and that's part of this story, I think.
Oh, it is. And and I think women need to get a grip, right? Like not every sexual encounter that you weren't like breaking out your pom-poms and doing a cheer and begging for it, right? Not every sexual encounter like that is a traumatizing event. Like, I mean, women, I have had sex, some of it on very brief or very casual acquaintance. I've had sex when, disappointing sex that meant more to me than it meant to him, sex that meant more to him than it meant to me, sex that didn't end in the relationship that I was hoping for, sex that I had when I was bored that turned out to be at least as boring as being bored, except a lot more work, sex that I was guilted into or, talked into because, okay, it's been a while and,
what about
poor guy's just sex? Dying of thirst here.
Yeah, charity sex because he's had a hard day and I want to make him feel good. Well, sex, that to show I actually love this man. Yeah. And even though I don't really feel like it, I know I'll get into the mood once we get started. I mean, there are a lot of good reasons to have sex other than your own desire.
Even if you don't get into the mood, right? How hard is it to suck a dick? It's like 5 minutes of your time.
I know. Compared to cooking a 3-course meal, compared to keeping the house clean, compared to all the ridiculous things women do to try to please women, sex is, let alone, sucking a dick, or just lying there, how hard is that?
Yeah, you just lie there and, like, take turns with him jerking it. Like, it's like, you just, like, sort of tag him off, right? Okay, my turn, you do a little, and then he tags you off, and he does... And...
You don't even have to lie there. Once you get into it, if you can get your head around the fact that once you get over this thing of, I'm too tired, I'm not in the mood, then I think lots of women...
Oh, yeah.
Once get your head around it, can really enjoy it. And that's something we've just lost.
Oh, yeah. Once it's rolling along, right? Often you find yourself in the mood when 15 minutes ago you were like, no, this isn't happening.
Yeah.
And essentially, even if you don't, yes, I agree women should actually try to relearn that. But I think that women should also learn that... that their bodies are not so sacred, right? That mundane sex is some kind of affront to a woman's dignity. That like sex is a mundane part of life, or it used to be. And now it's turned into...
part of the negotiation.
Yeah.
You do things for him that you don't really enjoy. You cook meatballs when he doesn't, you don't like meatballs, but he loves them.
Yep.
He does lots of shit for you. He climbs up into gutters and gets the leaves out of them. And,
Yep.
whatever, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Or maybe he vacuums, or maybe he does, he does the. We do stuff for each other.
Yeah.
Why is sex so different and so precious and so now peculiar when it comes to everyday negotiations in life? And that's been another one of the big feminist achievements.
Yeah.
To set sex aside as something you can't have reasonable give and take on.
Yeah.
And ordinary couples, normal happy couples still do that. And they take no notice of the feminist narrative, but boy, is it influencing young women.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like, one of my favorite bosses of all time, we used to call her Shirley the Nazi. And because she was very, 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 very tough, but excruciatingly fair. But she told me once when we were sitting folding napkins or something like that, and she told me that, her mother had given her, her Catholic mother with 11 children had given her, the best advice about marriage that you could give anybody. Oh my God. No. That you could give anybody, and it was essentially, no matter what, never turn your husband out of his own bed. Right? And that was the primary, that was the number one rule, no matter what, never turn your husband out of his own bed. And she said that rule, among the others, has been the one that serves her the best in her marriage. It's just absolutely, and it doesn't mean you have to have sex with him, right? But this whole idea of, you're going to go sleep on the couch because I'm angry at you, no.
But it's not even that. I tell you what, the amazing thing, I did this, my project involved couples keeping diaries about the whole negotiating the sex supply. The amazing thing about lots and lots of young couples, young parents, is mum and the baby sleep in the marital bed and dad sleeps in the children's beds. It's happening across the board. It's madness, this idea that if the child has a nightmare, the child comes into the bed and dad gets turfed out. I mean, it's an extraordinary thing. And that's part of the obsessive parenting that's going on now.
Well, I never had a problem with my kids coming in and climbing in the bed when they had a nightmare. And my daughter, while I was still breastfeeding her, we didn't really have a bed for her. And so she slept on a little mattress, right? We had a low futon. So she slept on this little mattress right next to the bed, so when she woke up and wanted to eat, I could just pull her into the bed and then put her back down. But it never involved kicking my husband
didn't get
out of bed.
Oh, there are lots of men sleeping down the corridor, sleeping in a broom cupboard, sleeping, and it's all part of the same story.
Good grief!
And it's also and parenting being used as one more excuse for not having sex.
Yeah.
And there are good reasons why mothers are tired. Mothers are, it's a tough time very often. It's a very stressful time. But it is becoming a convenient excuse for years for women to say, I'm too tired, I'm not interested, it's not going to happen. And very tough on men because how can they possibly argue with that?
Yeah. Well,
I think this is a really important part of this whole broader discussion, the fact that lots of women don't want sex. And that's the trouble. Single women tend to retain a sexual interest, but in relationships, women are much more likely to go off sex and to go for long periods without any sexual interest. And that is a really dangerous thing for our society because it drives the anti-sex campaign.
Well, and I think
women hate the idea of sex. They hate the men approaching them for sex in their marriages, and they see it all as, manifestation of everything they hate about being in a situation of having a man constantly coming onto them.
Well,
and that's part of the whole story.
Well, I think too, that's a symptom of that's a symptom of stymied hypergamy. In some ways, right? Women are attracted to men who are at least have at least as high status as they do, right? That's what turns them on. If a man has higher status than them, right? Women are attracted to power. They're attracted to social status in men. They want a man who's just a little bit above them or more. And that gets them going, right? But the moment that they marry, because we've changed the rules of marriage and divorce to give women the upper hand in every single situation, I think women instinctively realize that the moment that they actually lock a man into a marriage, he's now of lower status than her.
Yeah.
Just by default.
And she has all the cards. She has all the cards.
Just by default. So I think that kills her attraction to him.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like, it's like we're orchestrating a system that will, in every single way possible, destroy a woman's sexual desire for the spouse that she married, for the man that she marries. Because the moment that he marries her, he is now lower status than she is in a number of ways, legally and socially, and, you know, like all of these ways that she has power over him. And I don't think most women want to have that kind of, I think maybe consciously they think they want that, but I don't think that women actually, in their subconscious, in their limbic system and all of their wetware, I don't think that they enjoy that. I don't think that they enjoy a man that they can boss around and push around and tell.
Or that a man who has to grovel for sex and ask consent for sex. I mean, since when has that ever shown up in women's sexual fantasies?
Oh, God, never.
You know, I was thinking about Nancy Friday. You know, if you look back to the sort of sexual revolution and the early feminists in the second wave were, you know, there was a lot of positive talk about sexuality. And Nancy Friday was this author who wrote a book about My Secret Garden, about women's sexual fantasy, gathering together women's sexual fantasies, which were full of bodice ripping, you know, men taking us, men raping us, men doing things to us.
Yep.
And that has all, I mean, look at 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, that has been part of women's sexual makeup for a long, long time. How does that work in a marriage where a man is having to grovel and crawl to her, where she, you know, holds all the reins?
Yeah, where he has no entitlement under any legal or social rules of how marriage works anymore. He has no entitlement to sex whatsoever. He has he is not even entitled to ask her repeatedly for sex, because then he's abusing her. You know, like this is absolutely, you know, and if she gives in. I bet you if we looked at women's sexual fantasies now, which is half a century later, we'd find the same stuff there. There are a few
women, which of course is the 50 Shades thing.
Nancy,
we'd find lots of women still dream of the man who takes them.
Nancy Friday, actually, she wrote 20 years after that, I think, she wrote another book called Women on Top.
Yeah.
And, she said that some of the fantasies seem to become much more rare. They became rarities. One of them being, you know, sort of that, I'm going to say this, it's probably going to get dinged by YouTube if anybody actually listens to this video, but there were bestiality fantasies, usually involving dogs. In the first book, My Secret Garden, lots of them.
Occasional horses.
Yeah, and so those tended to like go out the window when women no longer had to sort of feel ashamed of enjoying sex with a man. It was like, now I can replace that dog or that horse who will never be able to tell anybody what I did, you know, with an actual human being. So, I mean, that seemed to be one change over time. But there were still, I mean, so many of the fantasies involved domination of, you know, like that, being with a dominant man, being with a man who is going to, who is willing to take what he wants, and get you excited, so excited that you want him to take it, right?
Yeah.
So, and all of this is just dying. It's just dying, and it's so freaking sad.
It's so sad. And relations between men and women are screwed.
Oh,
totally. I mean, I just think despair of what's going to happen.
Well,
we'll see.
Birth rate will keep going down, and you know, women will
divorces will keep going up, and
women will have to use IVF.
And men will go there. Sensible men will go their own way.
There you go.
That's the lesson.
Yeah.
Why would they? Why would they take the risk?
Yeah. Agreed. Absolutely.
And on that dismal note, we better stop.
Yeah, it's been about an hour.